Hi everyone, welcome back. Since this is our Halloween episode, it's only appropriate that we have Professor Cushman on the show. He teaches, among other things, in the anthropology department, a magic and religion class. So he's going to talk about that and a few other things today. So welcome, Professor.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So you teach a magic and religion class.
Yes.
And that'll be next semester, right?
It's every semester.
Oh, every semester. Yep. And I guess if you want to take it, you'll have to see if there's any more spaces available.
It's pretty full right now.
Yeah, I'm sure that gets packed.
Yes.
All right. But yeah, and you do a lot of other
interesting things on the side.
Yeah. So tell us about your class and all of the ghoulishy things that you do.
Okay. Well, the class, Magic and Religion, basically is a overview of how an anthropologist tackles the subject of religion and how they study it. So it's basically a overview of the different topics one would actually investigate as an anthropologist studying religion. So we start off with easy stuff such as folk tales, urban legends, fairy tales, myths, the stories cultures tell. From there we go into rituals and symbols, the religious rituals people practiced, and then you get into the meat of the course, which deals with, right now we're going into, for the Halloween season, the idea of ghosts, the idea of death, the idea of spirits and hauntings. And then we talk a little bit about the idea of magic versus sorcery versus witchcraft in different cultures around the world and how anthropologists distinguish between those topics.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's all through the lens of, well, one would hope it's through the lens of scientific objectivity.
Yes, anthropologists strive to understand the culture and the cultural explanations for ghosts, for magic, for witchcraft. But we also have the scientific outsider perspective where we try and explain what we think is actually going on that sometimes
in like a naturalistic sense without the...
Yeah, and it sometimes may counter what they say is actually going on.
Okay, and this is all the stuff you talk about in your class, right?
Yes.
So what else do you teach besides the Magic and Religion course?
I also teach Intro to Cultural Anthropology. Sometimes I teach archaeology classes, and I also teach sex and sex roles.
Wonderful. Well.
How'd you get into this?
Yeah.
Into what? All of
anthropology,
this?
I guess, right?
Yeah, mainly magic though. That's pretty cool.
I always was interested in anthropology as a kid. I'm trained actually as an archaeologist, and my specialty happens to be death, dying, and burial rituals, how people understand the concept of the soul, what happens to it after it dies, how people bury themselves.
And that's been in the news lately too, with a lot of the people who passed away because of Ebola. I mean, a lot of people were upset that they couldn't handle their
loved ones' remains.
The remains the way they wanted to because they were infected. So I'm sure anthropologists were helpful in dealing with that.
There were probably some medical anthropologists, sort of dealing with the politics of the hospital versus the government versus what the actual people who needed the remains of their loved ones back, and negotiating.
Versus actually making sure the virus was contained.
Yes.
So
because in many cultures, after someone dies, there are certain rituals that need to be done in order to bury them. There's a timeline that they actually have to bury their loved one in or with. And if they don't do it, that loved one can actually become a ghost and become a problem for the living.
And Halloween is a perfect time to talk about ghosts.
Yes.
And we have some pictures you brought in of what you think are part of, I don't know what you would describe as the spiritual
these are actually
effigies
these are actually just digital photographs I took in various spots. This one is actually from Fort Mifflin, and it was during a tour. And basically, this man, he was giving us the tour of the fort, and for some reason on my digital camera, I had this odd sort of streaking
like a beam
aura or mist coming off of him. I don't know what it was. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
I
I
don't
see
know.
it.
This picture, the reason it looks the way it looks is this is from a full spectrum camera.
Okay.
So it's been modified to basically capture the light that we don't see with our eyes.
And then we have another one.
Yeah, this was in one of the casemates or one of the cells at Fort Mifflin, where they actually held some of the more violent criminals during the Civil War. And it's considered to be one of the most haunted ones. And in the background, two of the other researchers had their meters going off, and I was taking pictures from all angles. And it was pretty much the only activity we got that night in terms of our meters. And I had this weird streaking on my camera. Again, it was a full spectrum camera. It could possibly be motion blur, but I don't think it is, only because nothing else is blurred other than this bizarre streak that sort of wiped over my camera here. This was actually taken with a regular old digital camera, nothing special about it, down in Williamsburg. And for some reason, I had this odd orb up in the middle over the gravestone in the camera, and it did not appear in any other photos that I had taken that night. The rule of thumb when taking these photos is usually,
Multiple in succession.
yeah, take at least 3 from the same point. So if you have something odd in one, if it shows up in all of them, it may be an anomaly, it may be something, but you can compare it to make sure it wasn't motion, it wasn't something that was not paranormal, we should say. And here's the same photo where the orb actually is gone. It's not in this. I had taken several in a row.
It's a neat shot of the graveyard. Yeah. Well, if you're looking for ghosts, I guess the first rule is to have a camera.
That's a good plan. And any camera will do. You do not have to have a modified one. You don't have to have a fancy one. Even the camera on your cell phone works absolutely fine.
And even now, they're amazing. So.
Yeah, some of the cell phone, I get better pictures on my cell phone camera than I do with
Yeah.
some of my digital ones.
Yeah.
Is that the camera that you use?
This is actually, yeah, the camera that I used to take the full spectrum ones. It's basically a normal Nikon digital camera, which has been modified to see infrared light as well as ultraviolet light.
Is that the capturing sensors
And
down
yeah,
there?
this basically, I can turn it on. These are basically the visible spectrum light, the RGB lights. And then you have ultraviolet and infrared lights. And the infrared lights we can't actually see with our eyes. But if I pointed the camera at this, they would show up on the viewfinder and you would see it. And it illuminates basically a pitch dark room at night really well to help you actually take pictures.
So if
Oh, wow.
like this room was pitch dark and you took a picture, what is it, like an infrared flash or?
The camera's been modified to pick up infrared light, and this is basically like a floodlight.
Okay, so it's putting out a constant
Yeah, it just fills the whole
beam.
room. Yeah, it's not like the old-fashioned flashes that were
Okay.
attached to the cameras and went
Yeah.
poof and went off with it, or even the flashes that are in your digital cameras, which go off. It's a constant light.
So are you going to be a ghost hunter for Halloween?
No, for Halloween I'm going to stay home and hand out candy.
Well, you could wear a ghost hunter outfit, I guess. Whatever.
I guess I could. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is all really cool. I mean, if you're looking for something to dabble in, I guess. Well, if you don't want to go so far as witchcraft, you could you could start off with ghosts. But
True.
But and when it comes to ghosts and witchcraft, it's like you were saying before, anthropologists have different ways of separating the different fields or
Yes.
the different definitions. So, do you want to talk more about that, or?
In terms of ghosts anthropologists usually define as any soul that has not passed on to the other world, has not gone to where it needs to go. It is stuck in this realm. And most people would identify that as a ghost. But there are some ghosts that are good, some ghosts that are bad.
Yeah.
So some cultures actually prefer to have good ghosts around. These are the people that their soul's gone to where it needs to be and then comes back periodically just to check on us, see how we're doing. And some cultures think if they placate those ghosts with gifts, with rituals, that it'll bring them good luck. Whereas the bad ghosts, the ones that are stuck here, you want to get rid of. You don't want to have anywhere near you because they will bring you bad luck. They will bring hauntings. They will bring, negative energy.
So they
into
have
your
their
life.
own culturally appropriate version of an exorcism or something.
Exactly, yes.
Well, we thank you guys for joining us this week, and from Allie and I, we hope you have a very
Very happy Halloween.
Yeah. See ya.
Bye.